story begins. Mary had a little lamb. Its fleece was white as snow, and everywhere that Mary went, the lamb was sure to go. Mary was from Maryville, but went to school in Poughkeepsie, where she attended Miss Peabody's school of singing, dance, tap, and hula. Mary came home from Miss Peabody's school each day and shared with the lamb everything she had learned about singing and dance. One day, the lamb followed Mary to school. On that particular day, the lamb made the children laugh and play, which was strictly against Miss Peabody's rules. Yes, the lamb could sing an arpeggio. Mary's lamb was not just any leg of lamb. This was 4 legs of lamb. It loved to sing and dance. But even though the lamb was very talented, Miss Peabody turned the lamb away from her school, as she had strict rules against training farm animals. The lamb waited patiently outside until Mary did appear, at which time Miss Peabody asked Mary, "Why do you love this lamb so?" Mary didn't know. However, Mary did know that since Miss Peabody's rules forbid the lamb from attending class, it might be time to leave Miss Peabody's school to follow her career to the Big Apple. And the lamb thought that a Big Apple sounded really delicious. Thank you, Ronnie. Both Mary and the lamb had big dreams of being featured on Broadway. As you know, big city auditions are tough, especially for dancing sheep. But even more than Mary, the lamb was determined to sing and dance, so the lamb decided to audition for Jersey Baa-ahs. It had been several months of auditions, but the lamb had not received any callbacks, only menu orders and solicitations from clothing designers. And Mary, who had 0 success with her years training at Miss Peabody's School of Singing, Dance, Tap, and Hula, was hungry and cold in the big city, so much so that Mary was beginning to eye the lamb's wool for herself. She resorted to working in a restaurant, which drove a giant onion wedge between Mary and her relationship with the lamb. Feeling defeated and alone, the dancing lamb decided to skip town, literally. Mary was so sad and lonely and lost without her lamb. Lammy, as she called it, was more important to her than her dreams of stardom or generous restaurant tips. The lamb was gone and Mary didn't know where to find it. Mary needed help finding the lamb, but knew that she couldn't hire a regular Big Apple private eye. She had to hire a specialized sheep detective. Mary's lamb was on the run, so to find it, Mary hired a private U, secret agent lamb. Well, the private U had used its U phone and uncovered that Mary's lamb was now appearing on Dancing with the Lambs. The U knew, however, that it was a bad situation, because Mary's lamb could end up dancing with wolves. Yes, the private U arrived at the set only to find a solo ballerina eating the leftover rose petals. The U inquired with the sheepish dancer and learned that Mary's lamb had been approached by a mysterious character named Fernando, who had lured the lamb away with a lucrative offer of an international dancing career. Gone. Of course, the private U traveled as fast as U could to the birthplace of the tango, Buenos Aires, to find Mary's lamb and Fernando performing together at a dance club run by his associate, Little Bo Peep. With every step and turn, Fernando was drooling all over the lamb. As the two prepared for their big finale, Fernando, adorned with lamb, with a stem of rosemary and a braid of garlic. Suddenly realizing that Fernando was indeed a wolf in sheep's clothing, and Bo Peep was actually operating a tapas restaurant. Tapas. The lamb hoofed it out of the joint before the last tango, Don't Cry for Me, Argentina. The private U looked around, cleverly approaching the sheep chewing on the stem of rosemary, and asked where Mary's little lamb had gone. Mary's lamb was headed across the Atlantic, but where? The U knew that the lamb was too smart to go where lamb kebabs were popular. Consulting with fowl friends, the geese and the ducks, the U used deductive reasoning. Yeah, and asked, where do they love to dance but prefer eating schnitzel? Searching for the lamb on the lamb, the private U arrived in Vienna at the statue of Johann Strauss Jr., only to discover that Mary's lamb had already left town to dance another dance. Would it be another tango? Would it be another waltz? At the statue of the Waltz King, there was a pigeon pecking at a piece of paper, which appeared to be another clue. Penned in a hoof print on the paper that the private U picked up was possible proof that this persistent pet was on the path to Paris. Yes, Paris made perfect sense to the private U, but which Paris? A good student of geography knows that there's more than one city named Paris in the world. There's Paris in Arkansas, Idaho, Illinois, Kentucky, Maine, Michigan, Missouri, New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Texas, Virginia, 2 in Wisconsin, and even more if you count New Paris, West Paris, St. Paris, and Paris, California, which sensibly changed its name to Lorraine. Nothing? All right. I thought I had one there. However, this time the U had a good hunch where the Lamb had gone. The private U did a quick U-turn and headed to Paris, France. Parisian stage was Mary's little lamb, with its fleece as white as snow in a line of chorus dancers. And just at the exact moment where the private U had finally caught up with the lamb on the lamb, Mary's lamb began to notice that a French chef in the audience was eyeing and measuring every one of its high kicks. So, cleverly, at the curtain call, the lamb danced out the backstage door and escaped down an alleyway into the darkness of the night. While Mary's lamb had traveled the world and danced its dance, the lamb was still missing Mary. But why does the lamb love Mary so? Because Mary loves the lamb, you know. So the lamb traveled back to the USA, skipped through customs, which is not that easy for farm animals, and went back to Poughkeepsie, where the lamb waited patiently outside Miss Peabody's school until Mary did appear. Lammy! Yes. And at last, Mary had her little lamb, and they were reunited. As it turned out, it was time for Miss Peabody to retire and move from Poughkeepsie back to Paris, Pennsylvania. So Mary and the lamb acquired Miss Peabody's school and posted a sign under new lambagement. And happily ever after, every day at their school, the lamb and Mary made the children laugh and play while they all danced the tango, the waltz, the LambCan, the hula, and the hoedown, while also singing arpeggios. And that is the end of our story.
Excuse me.
Yeah. What is it, Gabby?
There's one more thing.
What's that?